All right, we are live here. If you want to man the ship for a minute here, Liliana, while I share this show out with everybody and get it on your feed, we will rock and roll here. So bear with us while everybody joins.
Good evening, everyone. Reality Practices live Q&A with Liliana and Joey. Welcome on the show. We're getting better and better as we go along every week. And we want to welcome you, everyone. We want to thank you for being here. Although I can't see who's there every week, I want to thank you and I want to welcome you. We want you to know that every week we try to prepare something that you hear it anywhere, nowhere else, that we can give value to you. And if for any reason we confuse you too much with our teaching or knowledge, whatever you call it, because teachers just pop those questions in a box and we will answer them as we go in the show. So today the topic is very controversial. We are actually ready for the tomato, for the tomato throwing.
Opening a can of worms right here, I do believe.
Yes, so if you guys have tomatoes, we are ready to catch them, not in our face, in our screens. Which is
Let me one more thing here to get set up and then we will get the show started. I know Tina just tuned in. Welcome, Tina. Let's see
we've got to
here.
show you in a bit. This is what we're going to teach you. You can't find it in your normal circle, my darling, because we're going to storm you with the powers that are within you. And we are so grateful that everybody's like tuning in and help us and support us every week, because this is not about us. This is about giving value and helping the collective to understand what we are doing in here, escaping the matrix, which is what we're going to talk tonight. One of those matrix contradictions that we've been abide to rule by is the topic of religion.
Religion. That's right. Let's get this show started off here, Liliana. We got Michelle Pruitt's joining us. Tina Harvey's here. We've got a couple other viewers, but I can't see their names, but welcome. We'll have more as they tune in. But like Liliana said, let's get this show started. It's going to be an amazing, explosive show. Very controversial, but first things first. Welcome everybody to Reality Practice Live Q&A with Liliana Da Cruz and myself, Joey Kramer, where each week we answer your questions live from the audience about various aspects of manifesting and creating our reality. And today's show is, like we said, going to be an instant classic, as we're going to be discussing the topic of religion in terms of manifesting your reality. We're going to dissect some of the biggest lies that exist about religion, as well as a lot of the fundamental truths that also exist. And this isn't about just one religion or another. This is kind of about all the religions. We know we're going to get some haters for this show, but that's fine. If you're not getting hate, if you're not causing sparks out there, then we're not doing our jobs. So we're ready to dive into this controversial topic, and at the end of the day, when we look at religion, more people have died over the centuries, over the millennia. They've been killed and destroyed because of this belief in religion and this superiority and the idea of there's one religion or one God it's better than another. My God's stronger, bigger, more powerful than your God. And more wars have been waged, more people have died because of this really just misguided belief than anything. I thought of, when I was writing this intro today, I thought of a South Park episode where I forget who it was, where one of them dies and is outside the gates of heaven and God won't let him in. And he asks God, well, what was the right choice? What religion should I have been practicing? And God responds to him, I'm sorry, the correct answer was the Mormons. And I just laugh busting up every time I hear that. God saying, "Oh, it was the Mormons. The Mormons were the right religion," and
I was the one before. What are you talking about? I was one of them.
yeah, no, it's a South Park episode. So funny. But the idea is there is no correct answer. There's no correct religion. The correct answer is the one that we choose to seek from within ourselves. The powers that have ruled and influenced the world for far too long have been deceiving us from our own true powers. And they're quite literally using our own creative powers against us. So if you look at nearly all religions, if you look at them from a 30,000 foot view, you're going to find that they all are teaching basically the same fundamental principles. Some teach more aspects than others, but at the end of the day, they all teach us about the same fundamentals. And the most important fundamental is the power of love, and that we're all just a small piece of God, and that we're all connected as tiny little versions of God. We're able to create the world much the same way that God created everything. We can do the same thing. We have these powers, and it's just been hidden from us. And we've been kept in the dark on all of this because those that know the strength of what we are and who we are, what we can do, they've been harnessing our energy for their own selfish purposes, their own, desires, greed, you name it. They've known all along that divided we are weak, united we are strong. And if we all awaken to this reality that love is our true operating system, it's our true religion, then we'll all be able to see that we can create the individual and unique heaven on earth that we all deserve, that we're all here to create. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my beautiful co-host, Liliana, and let her share some of her views, her ideas, thoughts about religion, and then we'll kind of dive into the show. We'll start answering some of your questions.
Thank you, Joey. What an entrance, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to, as always, speak from experience, because experience is the only teacher. So, what is this religion about? What is this? I was one of those who searched from religion to religion because from a little girl I was looking at something, right? Something that I couldn't find anywhere, and nobody could give me the answers I was looking for. Like most of you are viewing today, you are still searching for these answers, and we go from one place to the other. And like everybody else, we just been guided through lies and lies upon lies throughout our lives. So when I become to understand this was 2 years ago when I had my spiritual awakening, because basically I've been searching for this truth all my life. I was a Mormon, I was an evangelical. I was not a Jehovah's Witness, by the way, but I was Catholic. I was raised as a Catholic. And when I understand that man is only actually, or God is a human imagination, that was blown my mind. I was like, what? So God is human imagination? How come? So there's no God? I was like, yes, but every single religion talks about Christ. And when I understood what Christ was really about, that was something else. So that said, I promise to tell everyone on this show about how to see God face to face, because in the scriptures in Genesis, Jacob saw God face to face, right? And we think if he saw God face to face, what was so special about him that we cannot see? When I understood that I can see God face to face myself, and after finding some content that resonate with my questions throughout my childhood that nobody could answer, I too saw God face to face. Yes, I did. If I did, everybody can. And you just want to know, how can you see God face to face? Now, let's start from the most popular, the Vatican. They all love it. The Vatican knows all this. So I'm teaching nothing. I'm not a teacher. I am just experience or giving you my experience about what I know about the Vatican. Because in the scriptures, Jacob saw God face to face in the place that he called the pineal, which is the pineal that we now know that exists, and it can be blast open once you have your spiritual awakening. So this is when you kind of wake up and see your God within face to face, because you have all this cerebral spinal fluid that runs through or climbs through your 30 vertebra, and that is the Jacob's ladder. Now, when you understand the scriptures in the terms of religion, we don't understand them as this. And when we become to understand the God within, the Christ within, everything that I'm telling you now that you can do and be face to face, your God within, you know that you too can tap into these powers to create your reality, because everything is within. So I did not know much about it. I had to make research about it to understand what was that. And when I understood that everything is connected, even with the Kundalini energy and everything that was going throughout my spiritual awakening, I was like, is this it? Is this why the Vatican hide this from us so they know it, and yet they blind us to be obedient to this religion? Again, keep us in the matrix for their own gain, basically. And when I found out that we can born with this knowledge and we can be resurrected through Christ, a lot of people think or still waiting for a Christ to become or come back again. They don't understand the resurrection. As I become to know it, is when I was very shocked, let's say, because I had no idea that my body, in every single sense, was connected to this knowledge. So that means that I understood when I saw God face to face, as Jacob said in the scriptures in Genesis, I think it's 32 something. He said that the cerebral spinal fuel, that fluid that Christ has, climbs the 33 vertebra, which is the Jacob's ladder that I just talk about, and meets the 12 cranial nerves, which is the 12 disciples that we hear in the scriptures. Now, when I understood this, I actually understood as well that we are just states. There is a good lecture. I don't know. I can put it in after the show in the bottom of the box because I didn't have time. But Brian have a beautiful lecture about this states. The words Moses, all these 12 disciples and the modern people, very well known prophets in the Bible, they are just immortal beings passing through states. Before I carry on, I want Joey or anybody that has a question right now, please do and stop me, because I can go in here forever and this is going to be confusing and very special topic. I'm not going to say critical because it's not life and death, but religion, it's something very powerful in the world, always been, and this is very deep subject to talk about live. So we are very brave to do this show, guys.
Right. There's way too much to actually get into during one short hour. I mean, this could be hours and hours of going into deep dives on various aspects here. So we're going to try and just hit some real important aspects of it. And we look forward to anybody's questions that you have, unless you just want us to share what we've learned and what we've experienced. In regards to a couple things you said there, Liliana, seeing God face to face, you talked about. The idea that's been kept from us, the secret that's been kept from us, is God is a frequency. That frequency is love. When we've been hidden from that idea of that frequency, and we're starting just now, over the last during this great ascension process, I guess, we're starting to come in alignment again with that energy. When you look at the law of one materials, it discusses so much of this in detail of exactly what is happening to us. Ra talks about how we're becoming the Christ. We're becoming the Christed one means to open the green ray center, which is the creative force of love, and it's giving us that ability now to transition from our current third density existence into this new fourth density. And all the difference is that third density, it's a lot thicker, it's a lot slower, it's like tar, molasses. It's like we're stuck in it. And that's where that anger, that's where that greed, the desire to service to oneself, all of that exists in this kind of lower frequency tar that we've been existing in. And what we're learning is how to raise our frequency to this fourth density, higher, much easier to vibrate frequency, which is the frequency of love, which is that frequency of God. That's where we're able to start feeling that compassion, the forgiveness, and the love for others, the service to others. So that's a lot of what, all of, I think, the religious texts out there are teaching us to do. You talked about the Vatican. Did you know that in 1684, the Vatican actually removed 14 books from the Bible? The Bible is literally, and all the religious texts, they're literally written words from man, but they're not, how much truth is in them? There's a lot of truth, but how much is manipulated truth? They chose to take out 14 different books of the Bible. One of them was the book, The Wisdom of Solomon, where a lot of the laws, the rules of the universe, a lot of the principles of how we become the Christed one, these are what they've taken out of these books. These are what they have hidden from us. The Vatican knows it. All these religions know it. But why are they doing it? Why are they keeping this hidden from humanity, this true secret of who we are? It's for that power, for that control. It goes even deeper. And the Law of One discusses as well how the Old Testament versus the New Testament. And you were just getting into Moses there, Liliana, and how Moses was actually given the 10 Commandments by Yahweh, or who he believed was Yahweh. What actually supposedly happened was the initial Yahweh, the entity known as Yahweh, he came here from Mars, actually, as Mars, the planet Mars, was destroying itself, was being destroyed through war and whatnot. He got people here and saved them. He was their savior. They brought them to Earth. And that initial Yahweh, he passed away. A second coming, basically, of Yahweh, who looked, sounded, everything was the same. It just wasn't him. He was part of the Orion belt, the Orion constellation, and they came to seek to empower this new, the 10 Commandments that were a rule of governing the people to enslave them. It was a putting on of laws that were kind of, they seem like they were morally correct, but they were actually keeping people from learning their true power. It was restricting us, and anything that God teaches is never about restriction. It's about giving and about growth. So anything that holds us back, anything that tells us we can't do this or we shouldn't do that, is actually a restriction on our own God Christedness, our own ability to create. So that in and of itself is causing this deception that we're all living in, this judgment. I think that's the biggest flaw with all organized religions, is they cause us to judge one another, to point fingers, to think I'm better than you, or to just to be selfish in a sense, instead of loving oneself and loving everybody, right?
Yeah. And with that said, when we born again through Christ, then we unlock all the secrets that have been hidden from us since childhood or since birth, because you become to know that there's nothing but just one. And then is when the true Christ within starts to operate as one God living on this 3D density. We become to understand that all is possible and nobody has more powers than the other. everything that we learn through the Bible is our autobiography, so we can learn from ourselves to operate in the God's power and become one in love, as you said. So when we have this knowledge, the pineal gland gets blast open, and then you understand that everything that is in the alpha above and the omega below and the chakras in or between they control the mechanism that allow us to tap into our body as a transmission centers to control the heavens as a cosmic energy here on earth. This is how I see it. I'm not saying that I've got it right or I've got it wrong. This is how I've understood it works, and I wrote it down as I woke up to this, because every stage of my awakening I had to make sense about this knowledge. And when I understood that the Kundalini energy was actually rising through up through my body, and when I understood that now I know the 33 vertebrae that the Jacob's ladder are ignite. They ignite obviously when we know this. We meet the 12 cranial nerves, because everything is, as I spoke last week, if you remember, the nervous system is the key to operate in our highest of the highest. So this center here ignites the pineal gland, which is our resurrection. So the colostrum secretes oil once a month in our bodies, and then so the ancients used to call it the Christus. That's why all the religions refer so much to Christ, to Christus, and that is the internal Christ within. So then we become to understand life when we have the colostrum oil activated, and then we understand ascension. This is when we rebirth, when we resurrect from the point of Christ within. If that makes sense to you guys, I really was like blown away when I start to understand my human limitations in regards to my health, because this is what I've tested myself to the most, which I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, to understand that everything is within. And like religion, I was lied to. So if I was lied to in a state of health, I was lied to in a state of religion. And when I understood that religion was nothing more than just gain, so that could start searching instead, because I did search all my life, I understood that I need search no more, because the ultimate God within, it was giving me clear instructions. There was no more, nowhere else to go search, because the Bible was actually written for me, because the Bible is me, is my own autobiography, and I could read between that. Religion is only a way of manipulation and war and whatever is happening in the world right now. So when we talk to people about this knowledge, there is a very huge limitation ongoing, because everything we need to know about this sacred secretion, which is the Christ oil, that makes all things possible and make you operate on your highest in here, is when Christ reach your highest. So our purpose become to go above and beyond understanding, because most of us searching for purpose, but because we are so blinded with this religion, that Christ is something that we pray to up there, and we don't understand how to operate. We don't understand how everything else works when we wake up to the Christ and the God within, not from the prospect of religion, but from the prospect of knowledge. So when this happened to me, I start to get very enthusiastic about it, very motivated about it. I start to have direction in my life, focus, power, knowledge, understanding, you name it, peace, love. And then finally, obviously, I had to go through the healing. And this was the divine favor to myself beyond measures. So I could not understand these things until I gone through them. we each of us have a capacity, but the problem is we are confined and restricted from consciousness suppression. Okay, and because we are suppressed consciously, we can't understand how these things work, and we cannot see the Christ within and operate from the God within. Is there anything you want to add? If I make
No, you're going back to, you said it, explained it well. You're going back to the idea that we're all energetic bodies, and what we've forgotten and what's been hidden from us is the power of the energy that's within us and all around us. It's all coming into us. We've just forgotten how to receive the frequencies, the energy coming to us. And you're talking about kind of that Kundalini awakening, that whole ability to reignite our system. We're like a big portal, more or less, for energy. And once we reignite in our pineal gland, reopen that connection, it allows for that divine source to now start coming into us and to start giving us what we've been needing all along, that love, that frequency. I agree with you completely there. Let's see, LM asked a question, which let's see how we want to answer this on it. Let me show it here. He asks, asks, what happens to people with neurological problems? So I've been thinking about it while you were talking there. And, my response to that is we have to go back to the idea that there is only you. Somebody with neurological problems that you view as having neurological problems is a projection from within you of some sort of deficiency, something that you're trying to learn from, something that you're overcoming, be it an aspect of compassion, forgiveness, love. I don't know, specifically what that refers to on your end, LM, but the thing that we really have to get out of our own way of is having the belief and the realization that we're all one, but you're creating your own movie. You're creating your own reality. And what you're seeing and experiencing is coming through you and being projected out in the way that you need to see it. You need to experience it, or that person with the neurological problems has to experience it in order to grow, in order to evolve. So, it's kind of a cop out, maybe, and it's all coming from within you. But at the end of the day, it truly is. Jesus says we all have the same powers as him. As above, so below. I and my Father are one. There's so many sayings, there's so many phrases and quotes of Jesus in the Bible, of his disciples, and of all religions that are leading us to realize that we are this chosen one. We are the one. We are a part of God. So we're creating it all. We have to just have faith and understand that, believe in it, and find that balance. And we begin from there to create out of love. We create out of harmony and frequency, instead of creating out of fear, creating out of lack, creating out of the problems that we've been made to believe are real. We create out of the beauty and the joy of simply creating. What would you say on that, Liliana?
He probably would not understand. Probably some people have not reached this understanding, and it's difficult for them to understand that that person with limitations is themselves. So for that reason, I bet this person who's asking this question has not understood your point, because probably it's not reached the stage that we are at. But eventually, because you're watching this, there is something interesting about you already that are connecting with us as we all one. So you can understand that you are us. As we explained to you, at some point in your life, this is going to be open to you, and you will become to understand that you are not just that person with neurological problems, but you are us, me and Joey, explaining to you what this is all about. So in clear terms, everything looks complicated to you probably right now. Let me say to you that we are the gods. We operate as gods. I don't know if you ever heard the expression as there are some angels on earth, there's some angels up there, whatever. There are some of us who have an understanding beyond human comprehension, And we know these people with neurological problems are nothing but us, as Joey said. So we act on these human, not limitations. So if everybody else is judging them because they have neurological problems, we now step in as gods and say, you are me, I am you, and we don't see them as that. So when we become to put ourselves in their shoes, they actually start to operate different because they say, oh, this person's actually don't see me with any limitations. So that gives that person confidence to understand the limitations again are only in the mind and being suppressed throughout since our birth. So easy said than done because there is so many limitations out there and so many people are born with illnesses and disease. But everything is again is for another lesson or a podcast. It's everything is contracts that we made. Like I want to go down, but I will go with this limitation because I want to learn that ultimate experience. So I came with this neurological issue, but that person can develop that understanding and cure themselves as I did. I was convinced for many years that I had a condition because I've been told I had a condition. Yes, I had physical symptoms about the condition, but before the symptoms manifest in the body, they first are manifesting in the mind. So if I convince myself that I have these limitations, or I was on operating like I have friends still operating in that state, oh, pardon me, I can't do this because. And that because stays in there until you understand that there's no because and there's no limitations. The limitations are come from the mind. So that person who comes with this neurological issue, it's only going to be neurological until they understand that it's only a limitation from the mind. Because we were born with this like a veil, the veil of forgiveness. Sorry, and because the veil is not open to us, we don't understand what is behind it. Once you start to see everything above and below as everything connected, you understand actually you don't have those limitations. Does that make sense? If not, just put some other comments and we can explain a little bit.
LM gave a big thank you and prayers there. So I think we answered that question well. I was going to add to that, the idea is we need to destroy this illusion that we've been made to believe that there was ever really anything evil or that there was ever anything bad that exists in the universe. God doesn't create from evil. He doesn't create from bad things. He creates from love. It's only us that give these things the meaning behind them, the way we perceive them. So, the idea that when we stop allowing the idea of bad, evil, lack, all these self-limiting beliefs, when we stop allowing these self-limiting beliefs and these fears to even exist, then we can start to rewrite and create the heaven on earth, really, that we all seek to find. I just had Ryder Lee on the show a few weeks ago, and that interview premieres tomorrow, actually. And he talks about how what is meant by sitting at the right hand of God. And it has to do with what Liliana is talking about, and the idea that our right hemisphere of the brain is our creative side and our imagination. Our left side is our logical side of the brain. It's where ration and reason come into play. So when we're sitting, Ryder explains how when we're sitting at the right hand of God, that means literally that we're using the right side of our brain. We're using our pineal gland and we're using our abilities to imagine and to create into existence similar, just like God created the universe, the world, everything into existence. We have that same ability when we can connect and sit at the right hand of God. So,
and there's no coincidence that many of us can't even remember, because this is the school of learning, that we have trained for this millions of years. We have been through this process in other planets. We just can't remember. So when we wake up to your realities, your gods, your Christ within, and you know really who you are, that's when the process of remember starts. That's when you start to get your vivid dreams. That's when you start to come with this beliefs that you have been something, but you're not quite sure. You know, you come in a dream as Moses, for example. I did come in a dream as Moses. I don't know if I was Moses in your life, but I start to believe I was. So, and when you start to believe that you came as an alien in some other, this is when everything starts to get real for you, because that's the state of remembrance. Is when we actually unlock we unlock the illusion we've been sold to, because we've been sold to this illusion, right? We believe it so, and it's difficult to detach from it. It's so hard. So when this happened to me like 2 years ago, I started to get a recalibration, like receiving portal codes. Okay, this is for somebody that is very new in here. Most of our viewers knows what I'm talking about. So basically they become like very powerful, the crown chakra activations. I was the first one to activate in my power as a god within. It was like the crown. So I start to get tingling, and I start to receive these impressions. It was like 24/7 on top of my crown. Now, if you ask me like 2 years prior that, if I had those, no, I didn't have those. Why? Because I was not remember who I was. So I received those kind of whatever you call them, I don't know, the guides, whatever. There was just a reminder of I am not this physical body, I'm a spiritual body. And then I was starting to receive this calibrations, so I could operate in a higher realm, in a higher state, even though I'm here. So I become to separate from the matrix, because this show is all about the truth about the religion. So I detached from the matrix and from the belief system that I have about health, wealth, religion, you name it. So even school system, because no wonder why I was so rebellious at school, because I was like bored, and my son was the same. And when you know these things is when you start to operate as your full power, and you don't need anybody to tell you what to do, because you know it. You just become to remember who you are for real. And then when you hear about this and this and this is happening in the world, you think, is that really happened? Well, it only happens if you want to believe it, because you already existed. You may be playing this role twice again, or once more. You just, this time you have the knowledge to direct it how you want to end it. If this time is up to you how you want to direct it and how you want it to go. Maybe we've been playing. Maybe I was a Liliana once before, but I don't know. But what I know is, now that I know who I am, it's my will to direct how I'm gonna end it. So, for example, today I want to do these shows. I want to teach people how direct their lives. So I decided that I remember this. So I'm no teacher. I think I'm terrible at it. But the thing is, even before the show, I said I am a terrible teacher. But again, I'm not a teacher. And why I'm doing this? Because I want people to remember that everyone has the same ability to do it. If I can do it, everybody can do it. Am I a god? Yes. Why? Because I've been given the power to myself to teach people. Everybody can do it. Once you tap into this knowledge, it doesn't matter like how slow you go, how fast you go. You start to get your life directed to all these people, circumstances, and you start to get out of the matrix. Even you don't realize you are, but you are, because you are connected here today. The show, each one of you are connecting already, so you are slowly questioning inside a lot of things, and that's why you're watching, because you are no longer operating from the old belief system, and you are now don't want to be directed from people that are lied to you all your lives. You want to know from people that really talk no sense to society, but they make sense to you, if that makes sense. Correct?
Absolutely. Richard said, as he said, I'm 40% left side, 31% right side thinking. So I don't know how he can decipher between the two. So that's only 71%. So he said, but regardless, he said, how about in the middle between left and right? I think personally, I think that's where we're all we all want to try and be. We all want to try and be balanced right in the middle there, and learn to live kind of subconsciously and consciously at the same time, on the right side, left side, use both of them to harness that power. Perhaps that's where the pineal gland comes into play, because it's situated right in the middle there. So perhaps when we start operating through the pineal gland instead of consciously thinking here on the left side, subconsciously creating on the right side, when we can bring it all into the middle, create together, then perhaps that's when the magic starts. Like Liliana said, we're not necessarily teachers. We're just sharing what we believe we understand because of what we've learned, what we've experienced. Right or wrong, I'm not the end all be all, neither is she. But we've experienced a lot, and gone and learned a lot about this. So if it resonates with you, by all means, run with it. If it doesn't, give it no more time, and move on.
When you understand religions like I do, because now that we know religion in fullness, you no longer divide. Remember that religion divides. That God wants you to be divided ever? No. So no makes sense. If the religion creates so much war and division, is it really true, this religion? Is it really true what it teaches? No, it's not. Because when you become God, the purest of the purest, and you connect with Source Direct, what you become, you don't become division. You become what? The opposite, unity. So when you become operating as unity, then you start to think as God, because God operates in goodness. And religion, if it doesn't operate in goodness, is not religious, it's not true. That's how I escaped the matrix, because I was searching all my life for truth, and nobody could give me an answer. They say, oh, here, come here, this one is true. I've been in every church, you name it, every church. Then I started to have, I was being an empath anyway, but I noticed more empathy and compassion towards even people that I never used to like, which is very unusual, because when we don't like somebody, we don't like, and that's it. That's the end of it. You can't argue. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Now, when you operate as God, you understand that person is not going to resonate with you because that's with you. But are you going to hate that person? No, because you see that person as an old version of you. It does not necessarily mean that it's you now, but you know that it was you some time ago or in some other life. And then you become no judgmental. That is true religion. That is no division. Unity becomes a major part on your daily life, and you become to understand all about narcissism, evil people and greedy people, and you understand the fundamental role of each individual that playing weakness and evil on earth. You become to not judge them, because each role is necessary for our awakening. They give us a kick in the butt so we can, I don't like what you're doing, but what you did just made me think about something that I did not know that I need working on. So you operating from God as you work on yourself for perfection. Remember, we're not perfect. We come to the school of life to perfect ourselves, to ascend to higher realms. So you become detached from these lower vibration states, I call them, to become in a higher vibration state. So you become as operating as God. So, for example, where before you used to hate somebody that was, used to shout with you all the time, you suddenly become like this. Okay, let him shout, because I'm not even going to argue with that person, because that person is my old version. So you become to operate in a higher understanding as the God would understand you. So you want to be you will have compassion as you want somebody else have compassion towards you, because people have this habit of saying, where is God now? I mean, if nobody operates as God, God is not going to show up. But if you show up as God and say, okay, I don't like the way you behave, but ultimately you are me and I am you, I'm not even going to argue, I'm not even going to respond or react. That's what I was looking for a long time. You no longer have a reaction to anything, because you're now operating as the God that you are. Does that make sense for some of our viewers to understand?
Yeah,
Yes.
Diana Fernandez said, yes, that's me. So says she doesn't argue back with anyone anymore. It's not worth it. Absolutely. Don't give it any more energy than you want to give it. It's your choice to give that energy. As far as what we've been talking about, a lot of what we've said so far today has been the lies and the lies and sorry, I got distracted there. We talked about the lies of religion and the hidden meanings, but let's talk about a little bit like the good parts of religion, such as, the idea that Jesus, he came back here and he was the ultimate teacher. He gave us the ability, he gave us a blueprint, more or less, of how to live life in alignment with God. He taught us about, the idea of internal versus external. Internal, we're thinking about ourselves, we're selfish, whereas the external point of view, when we can start putting ourselves in other people's minds and start seeing through their eyes, feeling what they're feeling, much like what I did when I rewrote my DNA back in 2020. It was the idea of going back in and beginning to view everybody from their own point of view, from seeing what they're feeling and understanding the world as they see it. That's how we begin to connect and become one with everybody, because now we're understanding that we all are connected and we're feeling and we're loving through each other, and I think that's the ultimate lesson that Jesus came to teach us.
That's what
Yeah.
I said. You just said what I said prior to you speaking, because when we operate as Jesus did, intellectually we are no longer into manipulation. Remember that Jesus was one man preaching at the time on his own, teaching everything that most people in the world right now are teaching. Remember, there's a big awakening happened from 2000 since the COVID started until up to now, and it's going to continue. How many of us are teaching these teachings now, and we're not as judged as Jesus was? Jesus was one man suffering from all of us, teaching what we are teaching. Thousands of us are teaching this now. I mean, we're not teachers, but maybe Jesus said, I'm no teacher either. And he would not force anybody to be nice. He was not forcing anybody to be compassionate. He was not forcing anybody, to have this relationship as a unity. He was simply here to direct by his ways, and that's what we do. You can't live your life if you don't teach, if you don't live as you teach. For example, now I'm talking in here and say, yes, I'm God, but if I go outside and operate as a devil, yes, there is a devilish side in me. If somebody triggers, he can come quite quickly as well. But it's just ultimately ascension is when we become more in tune with Christ-like attributes, I say. So when you become, as Joey said now, you realize that everyone is on their own path. You become no judgmental because your God is actually walking to this reality of illusion. Everything is an illusion, and we are living, and this time we have the opportunity, because we are awakened to this illusion, an opportunity to play the role as God on the lowest of the densities, which is the 3D. But remember, we have the power now, because we are the gods, to step from one to from another. We not longer, we are aware of the 3D realm. We know there's people operating with greed, with envy, with you name it. There's so many things that are wrong in there. But you are no longer judgmental, because they haven't found what you found. They haven't connected what you are connecting. So they're not operating as gods. They even laugh at you and criticize you because they've got no clue what you're talking about. They say you're crazy, you lost your mind, you are now living in a cuckoo land. But to be honest, it's because you no longer start to make sense to these people, because you step out of the matrix. And stepping out of the matrix is now your power. It's now not being obedient to the religion, which is one, not being obedient to anybody really, because your power is your power. And this is how you're going to operate as your ultimate God while you're here. And everything starts to become more clear and more clear. Some people expect really huge events. Remember, consciousness is always an evolution, it's always a process. Nothing is more advanced, nothing is behind. We are just at where we should supposed to be. So saying this, some of us will receive body upgrades and body sensation. Eventually, everybody will have it because this is part of the energies that are here on the earth. Forcibly, there's a great interest from these higher beings to make us understand that we all came here to have this consciousness and this awareness, and so they're gonna give us upgrades so we can be prepared to live in this density, because as the energies go higher, our bodies not longer match these vibrations that we left. So if I don't make sense, I'll explain. 3D, 4D. In 3D, you can no longer resonate. Remember, you are God. You're not judging. You just don't no longer resonate with environments where there's violence, crime, injustice, greed. So you step out of this realm. You know this exists. You know it's just parallel reality with us. We all going through around us. There's a lot of people that live in that life. You stop judging because you operating as God and you are ascending to a higher reality. So you say, okay, on this reality, you now become to meet more people like you, like kind, nice, compassionate, living authentically, trying to help the world, teaching, not service to self, service to others like me and Joe are doing. We're not going to be paid for this, but this is service. We serve because there's a higher duty in our brain, even if you don't want. This higher self, which is your God within, tells you it's needed. You must do it. You don't want to do it, maybe, but subconsciously you start doing. Me, for example, never in a million years I thought I was going to be doing this. Never. I'm the worst because I'm nervous. I speak fast. I don't have a sequence. Sometimes I put lessons together. I go back to front. But you know what? That's part of the process. That's part of learning.
Right.
And you can only teach by learning. If you don't teach, you don't learn. As I teach, I learn every single day, something new every day. So when you operate on that, you become more and more in tune with people like me and Joey, and a lot more. And our reality starts to detach from this matrix. And you clearly, because everybody knows now, clearly there's a division ongoing. I don't call it a division, all right, because everything is the way it is. But you start to see where you belong. Is that right, Joey?
Yes, it is. And I had two quotes from Jesus in the Bible here I was going to read that actually pertain a lot to what you were saying, just to kind of cap off the show here. The first one is from Matthew 5:43, and it says, "Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. In that way, you will be acting as true children of your Father in heaven, for he gives his sunlight to both the evil and the good, and he sends rain on the just and the unjust alike." I think in general, that kind of sums up the whole idea of we need to remove this judgment that religion in general has placed upon everybody. This is evil, this is good. Richard said, money is, in one of the comments, is not evil. It's not good. It's what we place upon, the meaning we place behind it. The things that are happening in the world right now, there's perceived evil people. There's things that are happening that don't seem like they would come from God. But at the end of the day, we have to love everybody because they're all ourselves. We're all united here, and they're all serving their own little purpose of awakening certain aspects of that Christ within us, certain aspects of compassion, of forgiveness that we're here to learn. We have to learn how to forgive. How can we learn to forgive if we don't have terrible things done to us for us to experience them, in order to then have compassion and see through their eyes why they did the horrible things that they did, only to come back around to forgive them for what they did, because it only awoke us more to our true power to create. And then it goes even further. Luke 11:9 really sums it all up in the idea that we're creating this, the reality and everything. It says, "And so I tell you, keep on asking, and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. I think
This
this is the most important universal truth of all.
this
Faith
is
and belief in this. This is the truth. This is how it works. You don't have to go to a building and
nope,
be around hundreds of other people
nope,
proclaiming your love and your
nope.
devotion for a God that is already within you. You need to go nowhere other than within yourself. You need to see through others' eyes, compassion and love. Forgive yourself for forgetting that this has been an illusion.
And you start to understand, to sum it all up, because this is exactly how I wanted this to end, because it's marvelous. You start to understand prayer, because people pray to something they don't know, and they pray, but they have this illusion. There's something in the sky that you start to understand. You're praying to your higher version, to your higher self, to the higher God, to the Creator. You connected to Source, and this is when you understand true value of prayer. And then, for all of you that are watching, your teachers find you, guys. You don't need to search, because they will just find you. Wherever you go, it doesn't matter if it's online, if it's on a coffee shop, if it's, you resonate and you kind of get together and kind of connect with people that start to operate on your level of consciousness, of your level of understanding, of your level of greatness and God's, because that's what you are ultimately. All of us have the potential to do great things. And this is not just the only life. We live in parallel realities, simultaneous lives altogether. We just have to understand which role we make in each of them and what role we want to play on each of them. And this role I want to play, I want to be, become better at teaching, become better in service, become better of things that I thought I never was going to be better. So am I operating in my lower version now? No. Oh, so many people, I know for sure, laughing. Maybe my first show when I did this, I was like mumbling. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm talking about. But as I become more and more into this, I know I'm giving value. And there's a lot of people that need to understand that every single person can do it. And imagine the whole world, imagine waking up to this. Is it going to be religion, division? No. What is the opposite? Unity. That's it. One. No religion, because so many of them. We're going to be one in unity. If it's not going to be achieved in the next few years, only the Creator knows, because we don't know everything. We're just here to teach from experience, and we are very, very grateful that you are connected with us, because we see you as one. And because you are wanted to learn, more and more material will come to you, and more understanding, more knowledge. And when you understand the signs of the awakening, the signs that you are operating on your higher version, you don't want to operate on your lower version no more. And you become so frustrated to know, damn, why nobody teach me this before? Why I was fueling all these lies, all this religion, all this manipulation. And this is why when your senses become in heightened, so they come heightened, your senses become your intuition, your everything that is within, and you understand that, oh, is it, because everything starts to get clear. And if you are lucky like me, you start to become to see your own cells, your own waves that Joe Dispenza talks about, all these things that are in the body that we cannot see only through a telescope. I am able, when I meditate, to see them now. And I thought never in my life I was going to see this. So I can see the physical is in here, which I can see with the naked eye. But when I close my eyes, I can see everything that I cannot see if they show me, basically, unless I go through a microscope and things like that. If that makes sense.
It's a beautiful, beautiful way to wrap up the show here, Liliana. I've got two really short verses I wanted to leave with everybody, and
Yes.
we'll shut her down for the day. First one is Philippians 2:3. It says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself." And I think that just goes along with what we're talking about is service to others. Give more than you receive. The more you give, the more that will come back upon to you. These are so many there's so many fundamental principles that teach the truth. We just have to know how to decipher what's right, what's wrong, what's manipulation, what's lies, what's truth. And Proverbs 4:23 is how I'll close. And it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where we have to come from, a place of love, a place of compassion, a place of forgiveness for everyone. Forgive yourself for believing the illusion. It's not your fault. Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they do. We come here forgetting. And this is all just part of the beautiful game, the beautiful chaos of life that we're here to overcome and learn. So I thank everybody for tuning in as always. Liliana, thank you so much for joining us. You're beautiful. Your soul just lights up the room every week. And I'm fortunate to have you as a part of the show and all of the viewers as well.
As you see me, I always say, as you see me, you are. So I just want to leave this with everyone. We are immortal beings passing through states. Just remember that. Everything is a state. Everything. Every disciple, every prophet. So everything that we've been told in the Bible, they are only states. And remember, these states will continue because we are making history as we speak right now. We are states too. So if they saw the disciples, 12 disciples, many billions years ago, now is 144,000, probably more now, doing this work. We are just states continuing the work. Thank you so much, everyone. We love you and we are so grateful. Thank you, Joey. I love you, brother. I really do have a special feeling for you about this love that you created around your network, and I'm so pleased and grateful to be part of it. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. And get ready tonight because we will be interviewing the one and only Brian Scott on the Reality Practice podcast, which will be premiering in a couple weeks. So stay tuned. Other than that, guys, thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, remember to always ask yourself, what reality are you choosing to create today? Bye.
Bye for now. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Joey. See you later, Joey.